Hi, beautiful ones. Welcome to day 7. So today, coming into today's video, firstly, if you haven't seen days 1 to 6, I invite you to go check those out. They're pretty short videos, just designed to kind of guide you through this process of self-love, self-acceptance, and giving yourself permission to be who you really are and to acknowledge that you are perfect as you are, and that nobody outside of you has the power to give you that validation, because so often, one of the things that holds us back so deeply in terms of this experience of wholeness is that we're waiting for somebody else's permission to accept ourselves. And as long as that is the case, and like, we can create a life where we are so loved, we have so much external validation and external approval, and that's fine, but there is still something, we might continue to crave that. And you might have had that experience where, even though you're receiving the validation that you seek from outside of you, maybe you have doubts about that. Maybe you think people don't mean it, or there can always be something. So until you bring that experience within, and you find that sense of comfortability and self-acceptance in who you are, in that self-generated state, then anything that you receive from outside of you will be transient, and it won't fill that void, or it won't fill you won't have a capacity to be fully present to it. It won't stick, so it's like when if somebody gives you a compliment, but you don't believe that about yourself, you'll justify or rationalize that away. And often somebody will compliment us and we're like, oh yeah, but I only did this. We'll minimize that. And even if we don't minimize it, sometimes later on we'll be like, oh, they're just saying it because they want to be nice. Like, how often have you done that? You've detracted from the kindness, or you've stopped yourself from receiving the love or admiration or kindness of another person. And where does that come from? That comes from a lack of self-acceptance, a lack of ability to acknowledge, and maybe it's a safety thing, like we've been through some of the nervous system stuff. But we're not going to be able to fully receive that love and acceptance from other people if we're not building the capacity to sort of be grounded and clear in our own worth, in our own self-acceptance. This is a big conversation. So what I've covered in these 7 days is, I think there've been some really potent guidance or tips, and I hope they've served. So, if this has served you, please let me know, or if you have any questions, please do leave a comment. And for today, I was tossing up between two kind of points to make. And, the first is just presence, and allowing yourself to be, and that's kind of what I was saying before, allowing yourself to be really present in the stillness and in the present moment, or the present version of who you are. So this doesn't mean that we're not always evolving and that we don't strive to grow and expand. Expansion is one of my true values. It's this capacity to realize more of our human experience as a soul, as a spiritual entity or energy. But if we're not capable of accepting ourselves, then sitting in presence with who we are is extremely uncomfortable. And so I, of course, teach meditation as well. It's a cornerstone of the work that we do. And the presence that we have in that meditation, all kinds of resistance can come up. We can avoid being in the stillness because I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or maybe someone needs this, or whatever the whatever resistance the mind throws forward at us. And that resistance doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean you need to change anything. It just means it's just an invitation to exercise that capacity to accept where you are and to accept the experience of this moment and of who you are. And, you know, as we've worked through tools for creating more awareness, sitting with that awareness without necessarily taking it on as our own. You know, these voices, maybe we took on the self-belief that I'm not good enough to have what I want because somebody else said it to us when we were a child. And this plays, I can't remember if it was week 6 or 7 or week 5 or 6. But if when we were a child, a grown-up in our life said, you're not having what you want, that then becomes an imprint, and it's not our voice. But when we allow ourselves to sit in the presence of who we are and what we are, we can perhaps stop identifying with the mental chatter, with the unconscious patterning, or we can create space for this patterning to come up and potentially de-identify with it. We can notice it for what it is, which is just a commentary instead of an absolute truth. And in that way, we can take back our power for how it can be affecting our lives. And, you know, there are lots of tools that we can bring to the table, you know, tools to clear the energy. So I would use those in a session to help a client work through that. But you can do this on your own as well, just by sitting in that presence, that meditation, that relaxed state, that relaxed open awareness of accepting the present moment exactly it is as it is, accepting what comes up without attaching to it. You know, it's okay for it to be there, but you don't need to make it your reality. And so the practice of presence can be an extremely empowering and healing. You know, it's a very healing process. I love this work. And, you know, so I think that's quite a profound concept in itself. And if you want to know more, just let me know or leave a comment. And the final thing, and this is, I suppose, a footnote, because this is a very different theme to presence, but effort. Allow yourself to put in the effort. Often, so if it we will procrastinate. So I'm not going to go into the procrastination thing. That's a big thing. Or it can be a broad topic more so. But often when we're not accepting ourselves, we will hold ourselves back from putting in effort to create that which will reflect our sense of purpose or our sense of fulfillment. So be aware of when you hold yourself back from putting in the effort or making an effort for something that will expand your heart, that will expand your experience, that will nourish and fulfill you. You know, so, you know, and effort can take all different forms. There's effortless effort, you know, so it may not be something, you know, it's not like lifting a boulder or something like that. Or, you know, it may not be some massive act of exertion, but just the effort of overcoming a limitation. It really expands your field, and it will help you to expand into that sense of accomplishment and self-acceptance, you know, your worthiness. And, you know, because just as a footnote, often when we associate ourselves with an act of effort, we'll look for some kind of validation. You know, I did something, so somebody's going to acknowledge me. It's only work. So if I've done something and nobody acknowledges it, then there's no point. Or, you know, I did it badly, or whatever the stories that come up may be. But allow yourself to make the effort for your own validation. You know, be the voice that says, that doesn't need, or that doesn't derive its worth from something outside of you, but rather empower yourself to do something for the sheer joy of it, for the sheer fulfillment, for the fact that it aligns with what you desire to be in the world. what a beautiful 7 days. I hope that this has served you. And I hope that, these concepts, as I mentioned, that some of them can, we can obviously go very deep. And in the human experience, there is some opportunity to really open up and flourish through this work. But they've been short videos, but I hope that they've seeded something for you, or perhaps opened up something in your experience to allow you to deepen into greater self-acceptance, because you're worthy of accepting yourself. You're worthy of being empowered to seek self-validation instead of needing the world to tell you that you're good enough, because you are enough. You're worthy. You're amazing as you are. So if you would like to take this work deeper, please reach out. You can email me or book a free call on Calendly. We could look at how maybe I could support you. And if that's not for you, then I would love to hear if this has served you, or if you have any other questions, just drop them in the comments. So much love to you, and thank you for joining me.